I'll tell you something that even Bill doesn't know, and he knows a great deal, which is I grew up in D.C. and I delivered the Washington Post for 2 years, and it was a formative experience. I got away from journalism for a little while and came back recently as a consultant to the Reynolds Journalism Institute, so I probably should have just stuck with it the whole time. I know we're a little behind, but I'm going to try to condense a few things. Well, consulting to the Reynolds Journalism Institute, I learned a couple of things. As a serial entrepreneur, I've done a bunch of technology companies. Some have been great, and some have been real dogs. So you take your lumps and you move on. We have been collaboratively batting around a whole bunch of ideas, how we might sustain journalism, the principles, the values of journalism. Hopefully the institutions, hopefully some jobs. When we absolutely can preserve institutions and jobs, let's do it. So there have been a whole bunch of discussions, like I said, some ideas that were so visionary, thanks to Bill's perspective, that we just can't implement them right away. So we had the mantra, what are the achievable steps? How do we get from here to there? And we have actually, we've taken a few of those steps. We are announcing today the formation of a company called Circ Labs, which is a technology company based in Silicon Valley that's building a new service to finance online news. Circ Labs has seed funding from the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute at the University of Missouri, and they have been tremendously helpful. If you can start a company in affiliation with a prominent research institution, do it, because it is so much easier to have a brain of 20 people than 1 or 2, 3, or even 4, in our case, the co-founding team. So Circ Labs has planned a suite of services. So we're going to tackle a lot of things, but we're going to start with something codenamed Circulate. And the software development is actually underway. We've got a software development team now. We have architected the system, and it's going. We're going to launch in the second half of this year. We're going to address the challenges of how to increase traffic to media-affiliated websites, how to secure relationships with online users, and how to enhance the value of news. The Associated Press and a variety of news organizations have been very helpful, have been providing feedback that is shaping our vision, and we anticipate working with a number of strategic partners, including several unique investors who can accelerate the development and the adoption of Circulate. A couple thoughts about Reynolds Journalism Institute, funded by $32 million from the Donald W. Reynolds Foundation. They opened their new facilities on the University of Missouri campus this past September, and they're totally awesome. In fact, it was the Blueprinting the Information Valet conference that brought me back into the journalism fold, which Bill put on at RJI last December. And I believe that was Cynthia's first journalism event as well. Yeah, RJI is focused on experiments and research that support quality journalism. Their mission is totally aligned with the mission of Circ Labs, which is why Circ Labs is spinning out. Bill Densmore was a research fellow 2008-2009 at RJI, and Circ Labs is spinning out as a result of his work. So what do? We eliminate the uncertainties and wasted time of searching for news on the web. After a simple one-time sign-up, the user has instant access to personalized and constantly updated news from trustworthy sources from around the world, delivered to the user automatically wherever he or she may be. A really key point, philosophical but practical, the user maintains absolute privacy and control of their personal information, and we hope that'll be appealing to our FTC representatives. But it serves a capitalistic purpose. In this world of Web 2.0, Web 3.0, the user is really in charge, and I often speak about a Copernican inversion, where instead of having some aggregators, let's say, in the center of the solar system, we're putting the user back in control. And because users want authoritative news, information, social interactions, they're bringing us, the publishers, back into the center as well. And so as capitalists, we stand to benefit from an important inversion in the industry. Now, you've probably all heard about the anonymous young person in a focus group who said, when asked why he didn't read a newspaper or search for news online, "If the news is that important, it will find me. If the news is that important, it will find me." And you can find that in the New York Times, as I did this morning. Well, with Circulate, the news will find him. Circulate will provide new, convenient, and truly post-search ways for the web to come to users, including social functionality, because we know the news and the social spheres are coming together. So we're integrating with the user's permission, of course, with their social networking accounts, Facebook, MySpace, even LinkedIn in the professional sphere, and so on. We're bringing all of that together within the Circulate service, which will create a bridge between consumers and publishers of news and information. Consumers using Circulate will be conveniently served with the news they want. And at the same time, the service will, again, be in their control with full protections. Most Americans now say they get most of their national and international news from the web as opposed to printed newspapers. Yet news publishers, and particularly publishers of the kind of essential journalism necessary to sustain a democracy, are enjoying a disproportionately small share of total web traffic. And some numbers on that. U.S. newspaper websites receive less than 1% of web page views and about 1.2% of total time spent online. There's a footnote there we can get into later. And within the news category, the majority of traffic goes to aggregators rather than to publishers of original news content. So we're going to fix that. We're certainly going to try. So although no clear strategies have emerged for news publishers to thrive in an online-only environment, we do believe that the right technology or technologies can play a key role in improving the market share of news content and increasing the web revenue of news publishers. At the same time, a variety of factors call into question the sustainability of the print model for delivering journalism. We all know that. What we do know as well is the legacy system is breaking. There's no viable online ecosystem yet for news that has emerged. But what, again, is needed, technology solutions to help publishers navigate through a new service relationship with news consumers. Circulate aims to be a significant part of the solution, addressing two critical publisher needs. One, the need to attract both locally and nationally a strong and loyal online readership, and two, the need to monetize that audience, both directly through the sale of premium content and indirectly through high-value, targeted, and interactive, advertising. Circulate will meet these needs and allow journalists to thrive in their roles as gatherers and curators of news and information. At the same time, Circulate will provide consumers with an innovative new way to discover the news and connections they need. We will serve all publishers of online news, ranging from newspapers to local news blogs and topical sites and just the whole spectrum. We require little or no technical integration on the part of publishers. It's very important that if we're going to do this fast, and speed is of the essence, that it be easy to integrate with the publishers. Some news organizations have announced plans to experiment with payment systems for content, a variety of plans, including micropayments and subscriptions. We offer a solution that can handle either of these. There are a lot of experiments, and we don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out, but we'll be there. In our view, newspapers should explore charging for online content when that content is both scarce in nature and of high utility to a segment of the audience. And at the same time, we believe that revenue from advertising and other forms of commercial interactions will continue to be very important, critical even, to financing news in an online ecosystem. And for content that remains on the free side, Circulate will enhance advertising revenue by increasing traffic, driving lots of traffic to publisher sites, and by incorporating, again, ways of generating high-value advertising. So I'll conclude there and pass it over to Martin Langeveld, one of the other co-founders of Circ Labs. Thanks.
So with all of that, you're probably wondering, what does it look like and how does it work? But for strategic reasons, we're really not prepared at this point to describe Circulate in more detail. But the support that we have from RJI allows us to move forward in the development phase, and we will be marketing Circulate to newspaper publishers and other news distributors. We anticipate that we'll be in beta deployment by the end of the summer and in full deployment by the end of the year. So I would just like to tell you a little bit more about the principals, this founding group, who are involved in launching Circ Labs and Circulate. You've heard from Jeff Vanderkloot, who is, as he says, serial entrepreneur. He has a strong background in technology development, beginning in the mid-1990s when he helped make Tripod Incorporated a top 10 website and an early social media platform that grew to 33 million users. It was then sold to Lycos, as you may remember. He worked also on eZiba, a transactional website that sold craft objects made by third world artisans in partnership with Amazon.com, and on Avenue, which has developed several notable social media and social networking applications and other Web 2.0 and 3.0 applications. Bill Densmore, well known to all of you, is of course, the organizer of this conference. Second partner, he is director and editor of the Media Giraffe Project at the University of Massachusetts Amherst and the New England News Forum. For the past academic year, he was a Reynolds Fellow at the University of Missouri, working on the Information Valet project, and this project really led directly to Circulate. Bill's extensive journalism career has included work for the Associated Press, publishing his own weekly newspapers in Berkshire County, Massachusetts, and the formation of ClickShare, a company that provides user registration, authentication, and transaction handling for internet web content sites. Our third partner is Joe Bergeron. He is a Silicon Valley-based software engineer and enabler of software development teams. As a member of JAND China, Joe was an advisor and manager for technology and retail startups, multinational corporations, nonprofits operating in mainland China. And through JAND, he built software development teams, advised organizations in the procurement and integration of software, and developed technology strategies. He was also co-founder of Peppercoin, a market-leading payment software company. And in 2004, he was honored by Red Herring as one of the top 100 private companies, Peppercoin was, and Joe was nominated for MIT's Technology Review 100, which is an award that recognizes the 100 most remarkable technology innovators under 35. And as for myself, I kind of stand in the shadows of this illustrious group, but I spent 30 years in the newspaper business, 13 of them as publisher at Media News Group's New England Newspapers division, and along the way I handled a variety of mergers, acquisitions, launched niche publications, managed the New England Newspapers Interactive division, and since leaving that, I've been blogging about media topics, first at News After Newspapers, and lately at the Neiman Journalism Lab at Harvard. So the Circ Lab team combines a great deal of internet product development experience with deep journalism and publishing experience. All of us have been active in these conversations of the past few years surrounding the future of journalism and the search for viable online publishing solutions. And Jeff and I have also been serving as consultants to the Reynolds Journalism Institute. So in conclusion, we'd like to thank a few people, particularly the participation of RJI in developing the Circulate concept and providing the initial financing for Circ Labs. RJI is represented here by Pam Johnson, by its executive director, by Roger Gaffke, director of program development, and Dean Mills, who's dean of the Missouri School of Journalism. And we'd also like to thank Randy Picht, who is here, chief of the Kansas City Bureau of the Associated Press. We look forward to working with all these partners and with America's news publishers in developing and marketing this solution. And we'd be happy to hear your thoughts and answer some questions, although, as I mentioned, we're not ready to be terribly specific about details.
Jeff? As I mentioned, we're participating, working with a lot of partners, and we've got a lot of discussions going on now that are quite interesting. One such partner, Information Card Foundation. I'd like to introduce Paul Trebethick, who's the founder and chair of the Information Card Foundation, and they are a real contender in the online identity space. Online identity is very fragmented. There are issues of security big time, and information cards are one way that we think we might address that. And we're actively exploring how we can integrate that technology into Circle Labs. So here's Paul.
Thanks very much, Jeff. As you've heard this morning, the idea that the reader, the consumer, the individual is king is a meme that's going everywhere. In the identity and security technology space where I swim, there's a term for something called user-centric identity. And it's this idea that I should be able to control my digital footprint. I shouldn't have to have all these passwords all over the place and so on. You might have heard of, there's two schools of thought in this new user-centric way. One of them you might have heard of called OpenID. Facebook last week just announced that you can now sign in with your Google OpenID. Another one that I'm even more excited about is called information cards. And it's an even more radical move away from what you might call the cookie model. Today, the internet works by dropping little cookies, and the poor little user doesn't really know this is happening or doesn't understand that they're being tracked, right? And then theoretically you scrub the PII and you make billions, 30 billions, in Google's case, of dollars by being able to target ads and so on. So that's one model, and it's scaling very well. But it has a lot of privacy and it's not very issues, and it's not very user-centric. So the selector model, the information card model, is opt-in completely. It's like, hey, I'm me. Why can't I decide who can see what about me? Which, to me, is sort of the definition of privacy. So you're going to start seeing some deployment of information cards. If you want some more information about it, go to informationcard.net. So informationcard.net. And you'll see that it's technology that's backed by dozens and dozens of companies. The co-founder, Charles Andre, is here, over there. And together, we've recruited Google, Microsoft, PayPal, Equifax, Oracle, Nobel, and on and on and on to smaller companies, all the way down internationally to this cause, because it has to be a standard that's not controlled by any vendor. Completely open. Nobody, Microsoft tried with Passport and Hailstorm and all that. It doesn't work. No one company can own this identity layer. So a whole bunch of companies have come together and said, okay, we give up. We're going to have to build an open standard. And that's called information card. I'm not allowed to say what I'm about to say, so please don't block this. They asked specifically not to say this, but I'll say it anyway. So in the next 60 days, you'll see a very high-profile government website, I believe, will be enabled with OpenID and with information cards both. So you can actually try them both out. And that's very exciting because it'll give people a taste of what the future's like. I mention all this, and I think I was invited to talk here because I believe that this could be a good foundation to build new things, new solutions for the future of journalism on top of, rather than reinventing everything from scratch. There's been huge amounts of work done. Most of it has failed. These two new ones are trying to learn from all the mistakes in the past, OpenID and information card. And we think it could be a good foundation for enabling some of the solutions that we've heard about it from small companies and large and so on. So just think about informationcard.net and you can, thank you.